Lauren Mitchell's hands shook as she stared at the pregnancy test on the kitchen counter of her Seattle apartment. 2 pink lines glared back, a quiet promise of a future she'd dreamed of sharing with Ethan Carter, her fiancé, and the man who'd knelt before her at Kerry Park, ring in hand, swearing forever. Her heart raced with a mix of joy and nerves. She was going to be a mother. She imagined Ethan's smile, the way his eyes crinkled when he was truly happy, and couldn't wait to tell him. But when he walked through the door that evening, his face was a mask of detachment. His tie loosened like a man unburdening himself of more than just a long day. "Ethan, I have news," Lauren began, her voice bright despite the late hour. She held up the test, expecting his arms around her. Instead, he froze, his gaze flicking to the test before settling somewhere over her shoulder. "What's wrong?" she asked, her smile faltering. "I was going to tell you tonight," Ethan said, his voice flat. Peak Pulse is moving operations to San Francisco. The board's approved a merger with Lee Global. I'm marrying Sophia Lee next month. The words hit like a physical blow. Lauren gripped the counter, her scrub still wrinkled from a 12-hour shift at Seattle Children's Hospital. "Sophia Lee? Your investor's daughter?" Her voice cracked. "What about us? This is our baby, Ethan. We'll move together, figure it out." "There's no we in this, Lauren," he cut in, finally meeting her eyes. His were cold, calculating, the eyes of the CEO of Peak Pulse Technologies, not the man who'd whispered promises under the stars. "It's business. The merger requires stability, a partnership with Sophia. You'll be taken care of. The apartment's yours. My lawyers will handle the rest." "Lawyers?" Lauren's laugh was hollow, bitter. "I'm carrying your child and you're talking about lawyers? Look at me, Ethan. Tell me the last 3 years meant nothing." He hesitated, then met her gaze. The emptiness in his eyes chilled her more than his words. "I'm sorry," he said, the apology mechanical, devoid of warmth. He grabbed his briefcase and walked to the door. "The accounts will be transferred by morning. Don't contact me." The door clicked shut, leaving Lauren alone with the faint beep of the pregnancy test's digital display still echoing in her mind. Her phone buzzed, a news alert from her colleague Rachel. Peak Pulse Technologies announces merger with Lee Global. CEO Ethan Carter to wed Sophia Lee in private San Francisco ceremony. Lauren's knees buckled. She sank to the floor, the test slipping from her hand. Another buzz. Rachel's text. How'd he take the news? Lauren couldn't respond. The room spun, and she barely made it to the bathroom before nausea overtook her. As she knelt on the cold tile, her hand instinctively went to her stomach. Her pager beeped. Emergency surgery at the hospital. She was Dr. Mitchell first, abandoned fiancé second. Splashing water on her face, she stared at her reflection, eyes red but resolute. Her patients needed her. She pocketed the test, a reminder of the moment her life changed, and grabbed her keys. The elevator ride to the lobby was a blur. She typed a quick reply to Rachel. "He's gone, explain later, heading to OR." Stepping out, shoulders back, Lauren pushed Ethan's betrayal to the back of her mind. She had a life to save tonight and soon, a child to raise alone. But as she reached her car, another notification lit up her phone. Access to the following accounts has been terminated. Joint savings, checking, even her personal account. Ethan's name was on everything, and he'd used his influence to cut her off. The injustice burned. How could someone with his power manipulate her financial stability so easily? This wasn't just personal betrayal, it was a stark reminder of how the system favored those at the top. Exhausted, Lauren drove to the hospital, the city lights a blur through her tears. After the surgery, a successful repair of a child's congenital heart defect, she retreated to an empty exam room. Alone, she pulled out the pregnancy test, tracing the lines with her finger. She remembered Ethan's proposal, the way he'd spun her around at Kerry Park, promising a family. Now that dream was ash. But as she pressed a hand to her stomach, a new resolve took root. "We'll be okay," she whispered to her unborn child. I'll make sure of it. Her phone buzzed again, Rachel insistent. Where are you? I'm coming to you. Lauren hesitated, then texted her location. When Rachel arrived, coffee in hand and eyes fierce with loyalty, she didn't ask for details. Stay with me, Rachel said, her voice leaving no room for argument. My place near the University of Washington, spare room's yours, we'll figure this out. Lauren nodded, tears spilling over. He took everything, Rachel. The accounts, the apartment, he even locked my personal savings. That's illegal, Rachel snapped, her nails digging into the coffee cup. We'll fight this. My cousin's a lawyer. But first, you need rest. Lauren clutched the test tighter, its weight grounding her. Ethan Carter had made the biggest mistake of his life, but she wouldn't let it define her. She was Dr. Lauren Mitchell, a surgeon who saved lives, and soon, a mother who'd build a future from the wreckage. As she followed Rachel to the car, the hospital's lights glowed behind her, a beacon of purpose in the darkness. Laura Mitchell dragged herself through the glass doors of Seattle Children's Hospital, her body heavy with exhaustion and betrayal. Ethan Carter's abandonment lingered like a bruise, but the hospital's sterile hum demanded her focus. She tucked her pain behind her surgical mask, forcing her hands to steady as she scrubbed in for an emergency case. A 6-year-old boy, Javier, lay on the operating table, his heart failing due to a congenital defect. His parents, immigrants with no insurance, had begged for help, their eyes hollow with fear. Lauren met their gaze through the OR window, nodding once. She couldn't fix her own life tonight, but she could save his. The surgery was grueling, a 4-hour battle against fragile tissue and faltering vitals. As she sutured Javier's heart, Lauren felt a flicker of purpose pierce her fog of grief. This was why she'd become a doctor, not for Ethan's promises, but for kids like Javier, who deserved a chance the system often denied. When the monitors finally stabilized, she stepped back, her scrubs damp with sweat. He's going to make it, she told the team, her voice steadied despite the ache in her chest. Outside, Javier's mother sobbed in gratitude, clutching Lauren's hand. The moment anchored her, a reminder of a mission bigger than her broken dreams. Back at Rachel Nguyen's apartment near the University of Washington, Lauren collapsed onto the spare bed, the weight of Ethan's betrayal crashing back. Rachel, ever the pragmatist, shoved a coffee into her hands the next morning. We're opening a new account today, she declared, steering Lauren to Wells Fargo in Pioneer Square. The bank teller's sympathetic glance, as Lauren explained her locked accounts, stung, but the new account, hers alone, felt like a small victory. Rachel's cousin, a lawyer named Michael, met them later, his face grim. Ethan's got a legal army, he warned. The joint accounts are tied up in his name, and your personal one? He's claiming a clerical error. It'll be a fight. Lauren nodded, her jaw tight. She'd expected this gooding, but she wasn't giving up. I'll fight, she said, thinking of the child growing inside her. At her next ultrasound, the technician's screen revealed a tiny, flickering heartbeat. A boy. Noah, Lauren whispered, the name a vow. She'd give him a life of love, no matter the cost. A letter arrived at Rachel's apartment, postmarked from Eleanor Carter, Ethan's mother. In neat cursive, Eleanor apologized for her son's actions, offering financial help. You don't deserve this, she wrote. Lauren's fingers trembled as she read, torn between anger and the kindness in Eleanor's words. She folded the letter, tucking it into her bag. I don't need their pity, she told Rachel, her voice fierce. Noah and I will build our own future. But she kept the letter, a quiet reminder of her pride. At the hospital, Lauren faced another blow. A patient, a 9-year-old girl named Aisha, needed long-term treatment for a heart condition, but her family's lack of insurance meant the hospital board hesitated. We can't keep funding charity cases, a pseudonym meeting snapped. The words cut deep, exposing the system's cruelty. Lauren thought of Noah, of Javier, of Aisha's pleading eyes. That night, she wired half her savings, meager as it was, to Aisha's family anonymously. It wasn't enough to fix the world, but it was a start. Exhausted after a double shift, Lauren stood by the window of Rachel's apartment, Seattle's rain streaking the glass. Her body ached, her heart heavier still, but Javier's recovery and Aisha's chance at treatment fueled her. She pressed a hand to her stomach, feeling Noah's presence, small but fierce. "We're going to be okay," she whispered, her breath fogging the glass. "I'll make sure of it." Outside, the city pulsed with life, indifferent to her struggles. "We need your help." She clambered to her feet, but inside, a fire kindled. Lauren Mitchell was down, but she wasn't out. For Noah, for her patients, she'd rise from the ruins. Lauren Mitchell's world narrowed to the rhythmic beep of monitors and the weight of her swollen belly as she scrubbed out of another surgery at Seattle Children's Hospital. Months of grueling shifts and sleepless nights had stretched her thin, but the fire in her chest, for Noah, for her patients, kept her moving. Ethan Carter's betrayal was a dull ache now, overshadowed by the life growing inside her. Yet the hospital, her sanctuary, demanded she bury her fears beneath a surgeon's precision. When a nurse called her to an emergency, a toddler with a failing heart valve, Lauren didn't hesitate. She pushed through the OR doors, her hands steady, her mind clear. The child's parents, clutching each other in the waiting room, reminded her of the stakes. She saved the girl, but the victory was bittersweet. The family's relief was tempered by a bill they couldn't pay. Exhausted, Lauren returned to Rachel Nguyen's apartment, her temporary home near the University of Washington. Rachel, ever vigilant, had turned the spare room into a nursery, complete with a second-hand crib and a mobile of paper stars. "You're not doing this alone," Rachel said, handing her a cup of tea. Lauren managed a tired smile, but her thoughts drifted to the hospital's latest injustice. A colleague had confided that the board favored male surgeons for promotions, dismissing Lauren's groundbreaking research on pediatric heart valves as ambitious but unproven. The sting of sexism burned, but she channeled it into her work, spending late nights refining her technique. Her proposal caught the eye of a professor at the University of Washington, who secured funding for a clinical trial. It is a lifeline, a chance to prove them wrong. Then came the night Noah arrived. Lauren was mid-consultation when contractions hit, sharp and unrelenting. She'd just finished advising on a critical case, a boy whose heart defect mirrored Javier's from months ago. Rachel rushed her to the maternity ward, where chaos unfolded. The delivery was fast, messy, a blur of pain and purpose. Noah Mitchell came into the world screaming, his tiny fists clenched, his eyes a mirror of Lauren's own. Holding him, Lauren felt a love so fierce it eclipsed every loss. "You're my everything," she whispered, tracing his cheek. Rachel organized a small hospital celebration, nurses and residents crowding the room with balloons and a cake that read, "Welcome, Noah." Their warmth wrapped Lauren like a blanket, a reminder that family wasn't just blood. But the world outside didn't pause. A week later, Lauren faced another board meeting, this time defending her research. A senior surgeon, Dr. Hargrove, scoffed, "Motherhood and innovation don't mix, you'll burn out." His words echoed the hospital's unspoken bias, a wall she'd faced too often. Lauren stood tall, presenting data from her trial, early results showing a 30% improvement in pediatric outcomes. The room fell silent, then erupted in approval. Dr. Hargrove's face reddened, but Lauren didn't gloat. She thought of Noah, sleeping in Rachel's arms back home, and Aisha, the girl she'd helped fund, now recovering. This was for them. A package arrived from Eleanor Carter, Ethan's mother. A stack of children's books with a note, "For Noah. I'm so sorry." Lauren's first instinct was to return it, but the books were educational, filled with diagrams of hearts and stars. She kept them, stacking them by Noah's crib, a small concession to the grandmother he'd never know. Eleanor's letter from months ago still sat in her bag, its words a quiet anchor. Lauren didn't need Carter money, but she wouldn't deny Noah knowledge. Her first award came soon after, a regional medical prize for her valve technique. Rachel insisted on a photo, Lauren in her white coat, Noah cradled against her chest. As she stepped onto the podium, the applause felt like a heartbeat, steady and strong. She dedicated the award to the tiny hearts we fight for, but her eyes were on Noah, his gummy smile lighting the room. Later, alone in Rachel's apartment, Lauren opened a notebook, penning her first entry to Noah. "You're my reason, my strength. I'll build a world where you soar." She taped a photo of them to the page, their faces pressed close, a promise sealed in ink. Standing by the nursery window, Lauren watched Seattle's rain blur the city lights. Noah stirred in his crib, a soft coo breaking the silence. She was exhausted, stretched thin by motherhood and ambition, but she felt alive. For Noah, for the children she saved, she'd keep fighting. The hospital, the board, the world, they'd see what a mother could do. Lauren Mitchell watched Noah, now 5, hunched over Rachel Nguyen's old laptop in their cramped apartment near the University of Washington. His small fingers danced across the keys, coding a crude model of a heart valve with a focus that belied his age. "Mom, look!" he called, spinning the screen to show a 3D diagram. Lauren's heart swelled. Her son was a prodigy, his mind a spark of brilliance in their hard-won life. At Seattle Children's Hospital, her own work was gaining traction. Her pediatric valve technique had saved dozens of lives, and whispers of international recognition followed her down the halls. But the hospital's politics hadn't softened. A recent budget meeting saw funds redirected to a male colleague's less impactful project, the board citing proven leadership. Lauren bit back her frustration, thinking of Noah. She'd fight for her place, for him. An invitation to present at a medical conference in Chicago arrived, a chance to showcase her research. Lauren decided to bring Noah, sensing his curiosity could handle the trip. At the conference, she delivered a flawless presentation, her data silencing skeptics, but it was Noah who stole the show. During a Q&A, he piped up from the front row, explaining his valve model to a stunned professor. "It reduces turbulence by 15%, he said, voice clear. The room erupted in murmurs, and Lauren's chest tightened with pride and fear. Her boy was extraordinary, but the world wasn't always kind to those who stood out. That evening, by Lake Michigan's edge, Noah's questions turned personal. "Mom, where's my dad?" he asked, tossing pebbles into the water. Lauren knelt, her throat tight. "He chose a different path, sweetheart," she said, choosing honesty over fairy tales. "But you're my miracle, and we're enough." Noah leaned into her, his warmth grounding her. "I want to fix hearts like you," he whispered. Lauren hugged him close, tears pricking her eyes. "You already do," she said, their silhouettes blending against the lake's shimmer. The moment etched itself into her heart, a vow to protect his dreams. Back in Seattle, Lauren faced another blow. The hospital's research committee, swayed by entrenched biases, slashed her trial's funding, prioritizing safer projects led by senior male surgeons. "You're a mother first," one board member remarked, as if her role diminished her skill. Furious, Lauren rallied support from patients' families whose testimonies of children saved by her technique forced the board to reinstate her budget. The victory was hard-won, a reminder of the systemic barriers she navigated daily. She thought of Aisha, the girl she'd helped years ago, now thriving, and channeled her anger into action, mentoring young female residents to break the same glass ceiling. A letter from Eleanor Carter, Ethan's mother, arrived unexpectedly. Inside was a legal document. Eleanor had purchased 10% of Peak Pulse Technologies shares in Noah's name, held in trust. A note explained, "For my grandson's future. Ethan doesn't know." Lauren's hands shook as she read. Eleanor's quiet rebellion against her son's betrayal was a lifeline, but it came with weight. Accepting the shares meant entangling Noah in Ethan's world, a risk Lauren wasn't sure she could take. She tucked the documents away, her mind racing. Rachel, ever pragmatic, urged caution. "This could secure Noah's future," she said, "but it's a Pandora's box." Lauren nodded, torn between pride and pragmatism. At the hospital, Noah's talents drew attention. A nurse caught him sketching valve designs during a visit, and soon a research fellow invited him to a lab session. Noah's questions about fluid dynamics and biomaterials left the team floored. Lauren watched, equal parts awed and protective. Her son was charting a path she'd never imagined, but she feared the scrutiny he'd face. That night, she added to her journal for Noah. Your mind is a gift, but your heart is your strength. Never let the world dim either. She taped a sketch of his valve beside the entry, a symbol of their shared fight. Standing in the hospital's research wing, Lauren gazed at a wall of patient photos. Children saved by her hands. Noah's laughter echoed from the playroom where he was teaching a patient to code. The shares, the conference, the biases, they were battles yet to come. But for now, Lauren felt a quiet certainty. She and Noah were building something unbreakable, heart by heart, against all odds. Lauren Mitchell stood in the quiet of Seattle Children's Hospital, her white coat a shield against the storm brewing beyond its walls. Noah, now 6, was at home with Rachel Wynn, sketching valve designs that had already drawn interest from medical journals, but Lauren's focus was elsewhere. A cryptic email from Sophia Lee, Ethan Carter's wife, had arrived days ago. We need to talk about your son's shares. The 10% of Peak Pulse Technologies that Eleanor Carter had secretly secured for Noah, revealed months earlier, now loomed like a chess piece in a game Lauren hadn't chosen to play. News alerts buzzed on her phone. Peak Pulse Technologies faces crisis as Sophia Lee files for divorce, alleging Ethan Carter's financial fraud. The empire Ethan had built on Betrayal was crumbling, and Sophia wanted Lauren's help to topple it. The invitation to a board meeting in San Francisco came with a first-class ticket, a gesture that felt more like a summons. Lauren wrestled with the decision. Joining Sophia could secure Noah's future, but it meant dragging him into Ethan's world, a world that had nearly destroyed her. Rachel, ever the voice of reason, urged her to go. You're not fighting for revenge, she said, but for Noah's right to what's his. Lauren agreed, but her heart was elsewhere. The day before her flight, she took Noah to Woodland Park Zoo, his favorite place in Seattle. Under the shade of towering pines, Noah chased butterflies, then turned to her, eyes bright. Mom, when I'm a doctor, I'll help kids who can't pay, like you do. His words hit like a vow, grounding her. She hugged him, whispering, You're already my hero. The memory of his small hand in hers steadied her as she boarded the plane. In San Francisco, the Peak Pulse boardroom was a sleek fortress of glass and steel, but the tension inside was palpable. Sophia, poised and sharp, nodded as Lauren entered. Ethan sat at the table's head, his face haggard, a far cry from the confident CEO who'd abandoned her. The board's eyes followed Lauren as she took her seat, representing Noah's shares. Sophia's proposal was clear: remove Ethan as CEO, restructure the company under her leadership. Lauren's vote could tip the scales, but whispers from male board members cut through the room. She's just a doctor. What does a single mom know about business? Their condescension, a familiar echo of the hospital's biases. Lauren silenced them with a calm presentation detailing Peak Pulse's mismanagement under Ethan, backed by data Sophia had provided. Her voice never wavered, but her mind flickered to Noah, to the kids she saved, to the fight she'd waged against unfair systems. Then Ethan spoke, his voice low. Lauren, I didn't know about the boy. The room stilled. His eyes, once cold, now pleaded. Let me make this right. For him. Lauren's chest tightened, memories of his betrayal flooding back, the locked accounts, the empty apartment, the positive test that had changed everything. You lost that chance when you walked away, she said, her tone ice. Noah's future isn't yours to claim. The board watched, riveted, as she cast her vote for Sophia's plan. Ethan was out, his legacy unraveling. But Lauren wasn't done. Before the gavel fell, she proposed a condition, a charitable fund, seeded by Peak Pulse profits, to cover medical care for uninsured children. She called it the Resilient Hearts Fund, a tribute to Noah's dream and her patient's courage. Sophia agreed, and the board, caught in the moment's weight, approved. Lauren left the room without looking back, Ethan's defeated silence trailing her. Back in Seattle, Rachel met her at the airport, Noah asleep in her arms. You did it, Rachel said, pride in her eyes. Lauren nodded, but her victory felt hollow. She'd secured Noah's shares, ensured a legacy for children like Aisha and Javier, but the confrontation had stirred old wounds. That night in Rachel's apartment, she wrote in her journal, Noah, I fought for you today, but not with anger. I fought for a world where your heart can shine. She taped a zoo ticket stub beside the entry, a reminder of the boy who'd guided her choice. As she stood by Noah's bed, watching his chest rise and fall, Lauren felt the weight of her journey. Ethan's fall was justice, but her true triumph was the life she'd built, heart by heart, choice by choice. The hospital waited, and so did Noah's dreams. She was ready for both. Lauren Mitchell stood in the atrium of Seattle Children's Hospital, the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Eleanor Carter Pediatric Medical Center buzzing around her. The Resilient Hearts Fund, born from her victory in San Francisco, had funded this state-of-the-art wing, a beacon for children without insurance. Noah, now 9, adjusted his small white coat, his valve design sketched at 6, refined at 8, approved for clinical trials. He grinned, tugging Lauren's sleeve. "Can I show them my model, Mom?" She nodded, her heart full. His presentation to a small crowd of doctors and reporters left jaws dropped, his explanation of fluid dynamics flawless. Lauren watched, awed by the boy who'd turned her pain into purpose. The hospital had changed since her fight in San Francisco. Lauren's success had sparked a reckoning. Her advocacy led to a mentorship program for female surgeons, breaking the glass ceiling that once confined her. She trained young women like her, mothers and dreamers, to navigate a system that too often dismissed them. Yet the broader fight persisted. At a recent board meeting, a proposal to limit charity cases resurfaced, echoing the struggles of Aisha and Javier years ago. Lauren countered with data from the Resilient Hearts Fund, securing its expansion. Her voice, once doubted, now shaped policy, a quiet revolution for the kids she'd sworn to protect. Noah's 9th birthday fell days later, and Lauren transformed the hospital's playroom into a celebration. She invited patients and their families, kids in wheelchairs and IV drips joining the party. Noah, ever the empath, handed a handmade valve model to a shy girl, Mia, who'd survived a heart transplant. "This is for your brave heart," he said, his eyes bright. Mia hugged him, her smile alight in the room. Lauren's throat tightened, tears threatening as she watched her son embody the compassion she'd fought to instill. Rachel Nguyen, snapping photos, whispered, "He's your legacy, Lauren." The moment crystallized everything. Love, sacrifice, the unbreakable bond of mother and son. But the past lingered. A news clipping in Rachel's bag caught Lauren's eye. Former Peak Pulse CEO Ethan Carter volunteers at Singapore Children's Clinics. She tucked it away, her feelings a tangle of resolve and release. Weeks later, at a Resilient Hearts Fund event at Gasworks Park, Ethan appeared, hesitant by the lake's edge. His suit was gone, replaced by a worn jacket, his face lined with regret. "Lauren," he began, voice soft, "I'm sorry. For everything." She studied him, the man who'd shattered her world, now a shadow of himself. "I want to know Noah," he added, almost a plea. Lauren's instinct was to turn away, but Noah's words at Woodland Park Zoo echoed, helping those who couldn't pay, healing broken hearts. "Come to the center," she said instead. "See what we've built." Ethan visited the next day, watching Noah teach a coding class to patients. He didn't speak, but his eyes glistened as he left a check, anonymous, for the fund. Lauren didn't need his atonement, but she accepted it, for the children it would help. Forgiveness, she realized, wasn't for Ethan, it was for her, a release from the weight she'd carried. That night, Lauren wrote her final journal entry to Noah. "You taught me that hearts heal, not just in surgery, but in love, in forgiveness. We're building a world where every child matters." She taped a photo from the birthday party, Mia's smile, Noah's pride. Beside it, sealing their story. As she stood by Lake Union, the sunset painting the water gold, Noah ran to her, chattering about his trial's next phase. "We're saving hearts, right, Mom?" he asked. "Always," she said, squeezing his hand. They walked home, their shadows long and sure. The hospital's legacy grew, but Lauren's true triumph was quieter. She'd faced betrayal, bias, and a system that favored the powerful, yet she'd built something stronger, a community of care, a son who dreamed bigger than profit. Ethan's path, wherever it led, was his own. Lauren's was here, with Noah, in a world they were reshaping, one resilient heart at a time. She closed her journal, its pages heavy with their journey, and tucked it away for Noah's future. The lake's ripples carried her promise, to love, to heal, to rise. Lauren and Noah's journey in those resilient hearts shows that love and compassion can rebuild what betrayal breaks. Personally, I believe Lauren's choice to forgive Ethan wasn't weakness but strength, a way to free herself for Noah and the kids she saves. It's a reminder that healing often means letting go, not holding grudges. But maybe you see it differently. Did Ethan deserve a second chance, or should Lauren have shut him out? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Stories like this spark debate because they mirror our own struggles with forgiveness and justice. Thank you for joining me on this emotional ride. Your support means everything. If this story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more tales of resilience. Share your stories below. Let's build a community of hearts that keep beating. Skaged.